Pastyatya Dejatarane. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Well, thank you for inviting me. How nice. And very beautiful place and very pleasant atmosphere. So, yes, I was thinking earlier today in terms of the topic, chanting as a tool for balance and like that peacefulness in today's society. So I was thinking about it, and yeah, it's a fact that chanting, of course, it depends what you chant, but if you chant the right type of thing, the right types of things, then definitely it'll give balance, very important or vital balance actually, and stability, balance, stability, and peace of mind. My spiritual master, my guru, Swami Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said that if you really get into these things nicely, chanting mantras and suitable mantras, then if you can get into that, he said, then peace of mind is just the first installment of result, of experience that you'll get from it. So, yes, and then there's more. Even really there can be a lot more, but at least that's a good start in this world, because this world, I imagine you know as well as me, maybe you know better than me, it's not very well balanced, and a lot of the people are not well balanced, and there's a lot of chaos, and there's really a lot of chaos, really. A lot of chaos. Occasionally I glance at the news. Maybe it's not a good idea, actually, but occasionally I do. And, I saw today the American government. Anyway, I shouldn't really talk about it. But if you know what I'm talking about, you would know. It's chaos. It's just crazy. It's so unfortunate, actually. But the principle, one of my students, actually, from Lithuania, which is sort of northeastern Europe, more or less, several years ago, before COVID, well before COVID, he's a family man, and he wanted to go to India for a month or several weeks perhaps, and really learn more about meditation, yoga, and really learn more about some of the practices. So what he did, though, because he was not a wealthy man in that country in those days, because it was just coming out of, it had just come out of being part of the Soviet Union. So he had very little money. So in order to go to India, he sold his motor car. As a job or a business, he was selling like very refined optical instruments to certain like medical places and other places, sort of industrial types of places. So he used to drive around from place to place, like factory to factory. But now he had to take the bus. And in Lithuania, the buses, they were and they still are something like some of the buses you get in certain parts of certain cities in South Africa. You know, they play the music very loud. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? That sort of music. So he asked me, if and the buses are very crowded, just, you know, wall to wall, a person in your face, one in each ear, that sort of situation. So he said to me, how do you meditate nicely if you're in a situation like that? And, you know, on top of the people right on you from all sides, you've got this boom, boom, boom music. How do you meditate nicely? So I told him, you don't. You get another job. Because not all jobs are equal. You know, what we advise people to do just in that respect, in that regard, in life, and you may think I'm being facetious or just, you know, a little silly, or maybe quite silly, but we advise people, try to get a situation like of employment or business where you work as little as possible, but you make as much money as possible. Just try and, you know, sort of suss things out so you can find that sort of situation. And, you know, you're probably sitting there thinking, sounds silly. I know it sounds silly, but I know a few people who have done that, and more than that, actually. So they don't even have to work at all. So, you know, that's one consideration. The subject is chanting as a tool to create balance, peace, and positive something. Positive something. Positive, what was it? Oh, there it is. Balance, peace, and positive energy in your daily life. You know, so what I'm addressing right now, it's not exactly that, but it's very closely related, and it's kind of like a foundational aspect of the overall picture that this is addressing, is that if your situation in life, you know, if you're working and you're in the type of situation that student of mine was in, with the boom, 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 and people all over him and all that, then chanting as a tool to create balance, peace, and positive energy in your life, it'll be kind of like when you come home in the evening, you'll need to do like this, chanting, to get some balance and peace and so on. Just to stabilize you, just to get your feet on the ground, just to get you out of some bad space, you'll need to do something like this. And so in that way, it will be sort of an antidote, you could say, for the negativity which otherwise you're exposed to. Because I know I know a lot of people from many different places around the world, and I know enough people who really, there's a lot of negativity in their lives, in their work lives, particularly their work lives, and like the environment that they're living in, even sometimes the social environment. So, chanting can definitely be done, if you do it nicely, and if it's like, what would you say, some sort of valid sort of chanting, which has some deeper potency to it, then that can stabilize you after another tough day at work, that sort of situation, or another tough day at school or university, where you come back like, phew, just made it, survived. But then, so anyway, let me just say that I would strongly, I could hardly overemphasize how strongly I'd advise all of you and everyone that you need to get your lifestyle together, as much as you're able, And if you're really able to get it really nicely together, then you've got like a good, like a foundation or like a springboard for launching into some chanting, which will not just stabilize you from the difficulties you've been facing during the day, but it'll take you into some deeper realms of experience and inner experience, which, well, as it says, chanting as a tool to create balance, peace, and positive energy in your daily lives, your daily life. Yeah. So in other words, it won't just be something like to save us from going down the drain or, something along those lines, but it'll be something to add a real, a deeper and more wonderful element to our lives, like a really positive element which will illuminate our lives, illuminate our hearts, illuminate our minds, and really it's something that can be just really transformative in a very, very positive way. So anyway, that's my little presentation as far as your working lives and, just your lives in general are concerned. But think about it. Think about it. Because not all jobs are equal. Like not all people are equal. Not all jobs are equal. And we should really try and find some situation of that sort which is as conducive as possible, at least just not so unconducive. Yeah, that's important. And then that'll help you. It'll give like a springboard for diving into some deeper spiritual things which are very rich. I'm looking around, I know some of you, and I'm just going to tell you a little story in this regard, which definitely many of you have heard before. Some of you may have heard a number of times, but some of you, I think, will not have. And it's a good one, and it's a very true one from someone probably you've all heard of. Many years ago, I knew a famous musician named George Harrison, who passed away. Heard of him? The Beatles. So, yeah, there was a particular discussion I had with him. It was also many years ago. It was the end of 1979, because he was very interested and very actively involved in chanting, particular meditation, yoga, but particularly meditation he was really into for many years. And he told me then, it was just between Christmas and New Year at the end of 79, I went out and visited him where he stays, kind of some distance out from London, Henley-on-Thames. So we had a lengthy discussion about many things, about 3 hours. And one thing was that he told me about how he got into meditation, and, in a situation where it really made like a powerful impact throughout his being. So he told me that he and John Lennon, also late, they were, as I recall, on a boat cruise, like some luxury liner sort of cruise around the Mediterranean. They had been to India a couple of times, and they all had an interest in these things, but particularly George he really was interested, and he was into it. He was practicing every day. So one morning he and John Lennon woke up, and somehow the idea just popped into their minds. Hey, let's just chant some mantras. Yeah, let's do it. So they picked up their guitars and, I'll keep it brief, but they chanted different mantras actually, but particularly what we call the Maha mantra, which Maha means great mantra. It's very kind of special amongst the mantras. So they were chanting, and would you believe that just with a few toilet breaks, they chanted for more than 20 hours. Basically non-stop. They didn't eat the entire day till the next, and they didn't stop chanting till the next morning sometime, about 20 or 21 hours. And he told me that the experience was just so powerful that he understood this is real. This is something just super extraordinary and, like otherworldly in an extremely positive sense. So, unfortunately, poor old George, he had problems of his own. He was addicted to cigarettes, unfortunately. What a shame. And even John, even John Lennon, he was really into it for a while. He was really into it. I mean, believe it or not, even Mick Jagger was. But anyway, let us not deviate. So the thing is that here we're talking about chanting, and not just chanting anything. Mantras. Mantra is the Sanskrit term. It's a compound word, man and tra. Man means the mind, and tra means to deliver. Yeah, to deliver. So mantra means sound vibration which delivers the mind from its absorption in just particularly in worldly things, and brings the consciousness to a level where the worldly things, just the typical worldly things of money and work and politics and social media and Donald Trump, and I shouldn't mention Cyril, should I? But anyway, poor fellow. It lifts the consciousness above these things. When I say consciousness, generally people, if they hear the term, because it's not so common, but consciousness means to be conscious. How's that? Consciousness, to be conscious. Just the act of being aware. Now, how you're aware, if you're aware in an enthusiastic state or a depressed state or whatever, peaceful state or kind of disturbed state, whatever state, the states are the states of mind, but the actual, just the awareness that I'm actually conscious, and means there's no attitude that I'm happy conscious, I'm unhappy conscious, but I'm just conscious, I'm aware. It's like the fundamental, most foundational level of psychological functioning, just to be conscious. So if we can lift our consciousness to a point where, all these distracting things in the world, what's going on and what people are doing and so on like that, then our consciousness, it'll take the mind with it. It'll take the mind with it to that level where one is no longer really being influenced by, what's going on, all the details of the practicalities of life, you could say. And that's really nice. That's really nice. So chanting of mantras, it elevates the consciousness, our awareness, and it takes the mind with it. We make distinctions between consciousness, being aware, then the mind, intelligence. We distinguish between these types of psychological phenomena. Yeah, so chanting, it has that effect. Now, but not just any chanting, like Prabhupada, I mentioned, my spiritual master. He was asked once, he went to America in 1965, and he's presenting things in a place at a time where people were just really not aware of these things. Even yoga, a lot of people would say, what? What do you mean? Something to do with yogurt. Is it a type of yogurt? Yoga. So he was asked that, you've got these mantras, they're sounds, and you chant them, and advise people to do that. But why can't we just chant anything, any sound vibration? And the person actually suggested, why don't we chant Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Coca, Cola-Cola. How does that sound? We've invented a new mantra. But Prabhupada, he said, no, if you want to, you can do it. You can do what you like. But if you chant that, the only real effect that you will get is that you'll become more thirsty. You know, if you talk too much, you sort of dry out and you'll become more thirsty. So it depends. Depends on what you chant. And, you know, actually it's a science. It's not just sort of, you know, just do this and away you go and there you are. That's it. It's a science. But, you know, one can get into it, start getting into it on a relatively simple level, you know, not too complex, and get real experience from it. Get real experience. Because the mantras, the mantras, particularly what we call transcendental or spiritual mantras, they have that effect, like observably, at least you as the chanter, you can see that it's happening or feel it happening, that your consciousness is actually going up and becoming less influenced by the hustle and bustle and people with their things and all of that. You know, I've been doing it a fairly long time, a little over 50 years. And, you know, if you really get into it, then my experience on many, many occasions is that even you can be in a place, let's be South African and say, what would we say? Well, in Durban, we'd say West Street. What would you say here? What's the main street of Joburg these days? Anyway, you know what I mean. No, you don't know. Congratulations, it's probably good. Commissioner Street, is it? Probably, maybe Commissioner Street. On a Saturday, you know, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, late morning, like that. And, you know, there are really a lot of people around, and there's a lot of noise vehicles going up and down, and you know what I mean. But if you have some practice, if you're practiced to some degree in chanting mantras, and you get into it, you can be in a situation like that, like Fifth Avenue, New York, for example. It's another dimension of places at the base. But your consciousness will not really be touched. Not that, like, you know, you're in despite the environment, but your consciousness, and with it your mind, will not be affected by all the hustle and bustle and the busyness and all of that. Yeah. And that is really good. That is really good. In fact, it's something that we should, I would say, if you don't mind me saying, any intelligent person should try to do, because otherwise life gets a bit much. And for some people it's too much a lot of the time. So, yeah. So I would advise you, friends, to get into this, try it yourself. You know, I can say so many things. Talk is cheap. Actually, talk is free. But, so I can say, anyone can say so many things, but the thing is that you have to try it and see for you, for yourself, what happens. Does anything happen? But there are some mantras I can give you. I will give you a couple of mantras this evening which you can take with you and try and see what happens. See what happens. And my prediction is that if you apply yourselves to these mantras, then my prediction is that you will feel and you'll know that it's a real experience. It's not just some trick of the mind or something like that, but there's an actual trick. Busy and giving, Prabhupada said, shot. And I right, if you want, but I would, it would be good if you did. The thing is this, with these mantras, like with many things, you do tend to get out of it sort of proportionately or in relation to what you put into it. So in other words, if you just sort of, fool around with the mantras, like if you fool around with anything, you're not going to get much from it. And you may get nothing from it at all. In fact, you may actually feel frustrated. Because with mantras, a very important, essential factor in the practice of chanting of mantras is to give one's attention. To give one's attention. And not be, okay, we're chanting mantra, and what's the time? Oh, I see, okay. And what am I doing on my computer here? And what's she doing? And what's he doing? And and what am I doing in an hour or two? This is called distraction, distracted mantra chanting. And if you chant the mantras like that, then I'd be willing to give you a written guarantee you will not get much from it, if anything. But otherwise, if you really try and give it a bit of heart and soul, really attentively, then these mantras, they open the heart in a nice way. They open the heart. Because within us, there's a lot within us. When I was young many years ago, I was told we only use something like 10% of our faculties, like psychological faculties. There's a lot there in the subconscious, unconscious, and different levels of consciousness. There's a lot of space there. But deep within, there's a lot. Ultimately, what that means, and this might sound a bit esoteric, but we, in the tradition of meditation and yoga for thousands and actually we would say millions of years, the idea of what we are, who we are, and what we are as entities is that we are all eternal persons. these bodies are just like vehicles, like probably we all came in motor cars in some sort of vehicle this evening. And you know that you and your motor car, they're just two totally different things. But there's this tendency to misidentify. I was in London once, years and years ago, and two people, their cars hit each other. And the one man jumped out and but shouted, "You hit me! You hit me!" But you did not hit me. Your car hit my car. Anyway, now we're getting into a sort of another aspect of the subject. But the thing is, within us, there's an eternal living being. And the nature of that eternal living being is, first of all, eternal. Secondly, full of consciousness, full of awareness. And thirdly, full of bliss. So this we can tap into this, and the way we do it is through mantra. But if we don't give our attention, then it's like we put a block in between us, what we're aware of, and the source we're sort of trying to access within. So being attentive is extremely important. I mean, it's not just extremely important, it's vital. But like I said, we'll give you till next week, Thursday, Wednesday.
Our next session is on a Friday.
On Friday. Okay, next week, Friday. And you can report back. Really try and give it your best shot. And you can come and report back and he'll tell me. And if you really give it your best shot and you just don't get anything from it, I'll give you your money back. How's that? Of course, we don't charge, so it's okay. But anyway, that sort of principle is there, We will apologize. But, if you really do give it your good shot, you'll get experience from it. I mean, that's my experience with thousands of people like yourselves, just sort of exploring these subjects. So now I'm going to tell you the mantras, right? And then if you really, at the end, we can write them down. Is that okay? Because they'll never remember all of them. So I'm going to give you two. First one, here it goes. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. It may sound like, just some syllables. We've heard how many millions of syllables in our lives. But this is spiritual, like spiritually, strategically structured sound vibration. So that's the first one. And, like I said, if you're going to give it a shot, we'll write it down for you. And then the second one is the Maha Mantra, which is sort of like the greatest, the top of the mantras, which I'm sure many of you have heard before. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can you just repeat this one with me? Well, after me, okay? Ready? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See, it works. I can see some of you are smiling already. Okay, so these are some thoughts on the subject. Is that okay? So I'll hand back to our leader here.
Maharaj, would you like to lead us in Sankirtan so we all get practice?
Okay. Why not?
Would you like some coffee?
Yeah. You'll play the harmonium, is it? You can follow okay.